Until last week, these 7 men were unemployed and desperate to rejoin the workforce.
It gets a bit boring sitting at home and not doing nothing, so yeah, 3 months is not long, but it is really, considering when you're sitting around not doing anything.
Around 3 weeks ago, they joined a program run by Mission Employment and Mobile Welding Services designed to fill a gap in the Hunters' need for welders and boilermakers. The group was trained in skills specific to the industry that provides heavy equipment to the mines.
Basically, the skills that are lacking in this area is welding skills and arc gouging and basic metal fabrication trade skills.
Testament to the chronic shortage of metal industry workers, the 7 men have already secured full-time jobs, and both the new employees and the employer are optimistic about the future.
Everything looks quite promising. It appears that we're going to finish up with some very valued long-term employees.
Yeah, it's a bit warm, but yeah, you get used to the heat and that.
Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
They're among this season's NBL debutants, one from the coast, another from the bush, yet both Larry Davidson and Mitch Selwood have plenty in common. Apart from starting off the bench and using their time on court well, it's their appearance which makes them standouts on all fronts.
He's got a better beard, so I won't even try to grow a beard, but no, it's all right. We both had long hair when we moved in together, so it was more of a coincidence than anything. But
yeah, it's always good to have someone else out there so you're not the only one that looks a bit weird.
There's nothing strange about his ability though, enjoying success on the court after a somewhat disappointing start to the season due to injury.
I mean, I'm really pleased with how my legs have held up, and now I'm starting to get a lot more confidence out there and playing a lot better.
Backing up Brian Weathers, defender Mitch Selwood never thought he'd get much game time, but slowly he's making more appearances on court and hoping to get his chance against the Razorbacks this Friday.
looking forward to rushing up on Sammy McKinnon anyway. He's a bit of an idol of mine, so it's going to be great to get out there.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Visitors to today's Travel Expo in Newcastle were told not to rule out Thailand as a holiday destination. These pictures, taken since the disaster, show a region in recovery, desperate to see visitors return along with their vital tourist dollars.
Spending $1 to just go there and traveling and enjoy yourself, basically just helping them to get their job back, and helping them get back on their feet quicker.
The Thailand Tourism Authority says most of the country's holiday resorts remain operational.
Even the Phuket area that was hit, it's actually only hit by on 2 or 3 beaches, which is the rest of the island is like about another 20 beaches still operating.
More than 10,000 people visited today's travel show, now in its 25th year, with many still considering holidays in the tsunami-affected regions.
Probably not at the moment, because I wouldn't want to sort of stretch their infrastructure at the moment, but yeah, maybe in the future for sure.
Yes, I think everybody sat back after what happened at Christmas and was wondering where this would take us this year, but it has been fantastic and people are out there to support the areas that have been affected, and that's just the Australian way.
The view from the roundabout on the New England Highway at Maitland made a small bushfire at Curry look a lot worse than it really was, but with the weather not exactly fire-friendly, fire crews were on standby in case the wind picked up. However, it remained calm, leaving rural fire service officers with little to do but man the phones and monitor conditions.
At the moment we're lucky we've only got one fire in the zone, and that's up at Burrell. We have 11 units on that, and they're keeping control of that. And down in the bottom half of our zone we're fire-free at the moment.
With temperatures in the low to high 30s predicted for Newcastle and the Hunter until Sunday, firefighters will remain on high alert.
We've been lucky that we haven't had the wind that they've had down in South Australia. However, the next 2 to 3 days could prove to be the conditions that they're having down there, and we want to be very vigilant over it.
Residents are being reminded to remove fire hazards from around the home and to alert the fire brigade of even the smallest outbreaks.
It's important to make people aware that fires do travel fast and to prepare themselves well in advance.
Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
Port Stephens resident dolphins are big business in the port. If you divide the Dolphin Watch dollar between the 100 dolphins that call the waterway home, each one is worth about $200,000 a year. That's one of the reasons why those in the industry want them protected from reckless or renegade boat users.
But we believe that in Port Stephens, the control of vessels around dolphins is paramount if we're going to see them survive here.
The National Parks and Wildlife Service is proposing regulations for New South Wales waters that limit commercial boats from going within 30 metres of dolphins, 100 metres for private boats and 300 metres for jet skis. Of course, the dolphins can approach any boat if they choose, but operators say speed limits in dolphin-populated areas should also be introduced.
A lot of people don't even know they're running over the top of them. We're sitting there watching them, and then we'll see high-speed vessels cut straight over the top. They probably don't know they're there. They're very hard to see if you're doing 40 knots in a speedboat or a jet ski with spray around. You can't always see very well.
Port Stephens Dolphin Watch operators say rather than blanket laws, individual plans of management for the busiest ports should also be considered. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Now that load's off my back, which is really what we wanted to do, I might be able to go even better with no pressure on me.
It's only early days in the tournament, but getting off to a good start is vital when the calibre of competition is this high. Doing just that, New Zealand stroke play champion Penny Newbrook, who finished today's proceedings with a 1 under 71. Newbrook is one of 6 Kiwis using the championships to gain the attention of Tasman Cup selectors. Central Coast sensation Nikki Garrett was player of the series in the 2004 Gladys Hay Interstate Series, and she showed no signs of slowing down on the Belmont fairways today. The 21-year-old also finished with a 71 thanks to an incredible knack for getting out of hairy situations. Former Australian representative Anna Parsons was on song on the 12th, sinking this sensational putt for birdie. But in the last couple of holes, things didn't go the West Australians' way. She ended out of the top 10 with a disappointing round of 78. Other names to watch for the remainder of the tournament include two-time Australian junior amateur champion Mi-Sun Cho and New Zealander Sharon Ahn. Round 2 tees off tomorrow morning. Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
It went pretty much to script in the opening stages, with Portugal winner Cristiano Ronaldo opening United's account. Virtual unknowns Exeter fought back only to have the equaliser disallowed late in the game. On the verge of one of the biggest upsets in soccer, English striker Wayne Rooney sealed the third-round win for United, ending any chance of a tied game in the 87th minute, much to the relief of Manchester fans.
Yesterday morning, police received a tip-off which led them to this villa on Maitland Road at Mayfield. There they discovered the body of 52-year-old man David Allen Bryant. He'd suffered a massive head injury.
Once inside, they found the body of the man lying on a bed in their back bedroom. Now, their inquiries from then indicated that there may have been a number of other people present at the time of this man's death.
Police believe he may have been hit in the back of the head with a sledgehammer, perhaps sometime over the weekend.
Certainly from the state of the body at the time that it was found by police, he had been dead several days. We're assuming from our inquiries that that may have occurred on Saturday.
Just after midnight last night, police arrested 24-year-old Michelle Lee Durrant and a 15-year-old boy at Chain Valley Bay and charged them with murder. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Get a group of motorbike riders together and they just can't help themselves. 8 Australians will race on the World Superbike and Supersport circuits this year, with Kevin Curtin and Brock Parks flying the flag in the latter. After a virtual washout in Spain for testing, they can't wait to do the real thing at Phillip Island this weekend.
3 days to sort out the bike, and we've got Kevin who will be pretty good on setup, and hopefully we can mix it with the 10K boys this year.
Soccer, and Newcastle's Katie Gill must be a shoo-in for the Matildas team to play a Four Nations tournament in China. Gill scored a goal in each game Australia played against Chinese League champions Shanghai in Canberra this week, including today's 2-1 victory. Fellow locals Cheryl Salisbury and Joanne Peters are certain starters for the series against China, Russia and world champions Germany. Lawn Bowls and Swansea 16s have staved off an incredible fight back to win the Lake Macquarie Ladies District Triples today. Racing to a 19-1 lead in the decider, they held off Bullaroo by just one shot, winning 23-22. And in tennis, Trudy Musgrave's women's doubles campaign at the Australian Open has ended in the second round, with her and partner Christina Wheeler beaten by Martina Navratilova and Daniela Hachikova. Musgrave will team with Wayne Arthurs in the mixed. It began as a beautiful breeze from the south, but like it can do at Belmont, winds often blow afternoon scores in the same direction. An Australian amateur champion, Sarah Kemp, made the right moves early with a birdie at the first. But like so many, scores soon went backwards. Even Kiwi Jackie Shin suffered. The best of the internationals on day one, she showed the sort of shots that landed her a spot in several New Zealand representative sides before giving up 2 strokes today. She has some company at 1 under with Nikki Garrett, along with defending champion and overnight leader Sarah O, who started a 1-shot leader but gave up 3 today. They trail Daniela Montgomery. Hailing from Royal Fremantle Club, the West Australian doesn't mind the front 9 at Belmont. A great start yesterday was mirrored again today with 3 outward birdies. She'll begin the third round at 2 under. But the pace is being set by Misan Cho. After claiming back-to-back Australian junior titles, the Victorian teenager is looking for an international title to add to her ever-growing list of achievements. And with shots like these, she's sure to go close. Familiar faces were in the zone early as Hunter burst out of the blocks, knowing a win here was crucial in the race for the playoffs. Weathers and fellow import Kavossi Franklin leading the way as both hit 27 points each. Ben Melmoth had a busy night too in both attack and defence as the Pirates put the Breakers to the sword.
We're getting the job done at home, and this has been a major emphasis for us to get it done on the road.
Water polo and the country championships are being played at two venues in Newcastle this weekend. With the women's at Swansea, the men field Lambton Pool today, and Lake Macquarie got off to a great start in its title defence. It helps when you have former Australian squad member Phil Reid headlining your side. Play continues tomorrow with finals on Monday. Most eyes were on defending champion Sarah O, waiting for one of her trademark charges up the leaderboard, but it became a day of simply holding ground for many. Jackie Shin was forced to. After dropping 2 strokes early in her third round, the Kiwi's putter helped stop the rot for a while. Jenny Park made a charge, picking up 4 shots to have a share of third. But the real movers came in the final group. With birdies on the first and fourth, Central Coaster and Australian amateur rep Nikki Garrett soon shared top spot. On the 6th, she went into the outright lead at 4 under. It lasted only a hole as Misan Cho made her move. The overnight leader at 3 under, the dual national junior champion recovered from a shaky start. After giving back 2 shots in 4 holes, the 17-year-old shot back-to-back birdies to regain the lead. But it's with Garrett she finished locked at 5 under and as 2-shot leaders. It's not uncommon that replacement fighters need to be found at the last minute, but Anthony Mundine was shattered when hearing his revenge bout against Manny Siaka had to be postponed. While it didn't exactly upset his support staff, who never wanted the rematch to go ahead, it has created new headaches.
It's a catch-22 because you're going to get an opponent that you don't know anything about, that you got no tapes. All you know is what you see on a record, and records don't necessarily mean anything on a night.
His manager wary of the last time this happened to Mundine, when he fought and nearly lost to a then unheralded Sam Solomon in Wollongong. Mundine's new opponent should be known by Thursday.
They're looking Panama or Mexico at the moment and Venezuela, so we'll see what they come back with. They're very adamant that they'll have an opponent within 48 hours.
Athens Olympian Jamie Pittman knows who he'll be fighting, but it's stepping out for his second ever pro fight, but first at home, that he's thinking about.
Just being in here, you can feel it already.
As a 13-year-old, Pittman watched Costa Zhu fight here 10 years ago and was inspired to follow suit. Now, with his chance, he hopes it's just the start of big things to come.
And to be on the undercard to Anthony Mundine and in front of my hometown, it's going to be great.
As for the man himself, Mundine will hold a public training session in the city on Thursday. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Just 2 years ago, Blue Tongue's beers burst onto the market and the boutique brewery hasn't looked back. Last year, 1 million litres of beer was brewed here at Cameron Park, 3/4 of that bottled and packed, the rest sold on tap. But with demand now outweighing supply, Blue Tongue has decided to double its production capacity to 2 million litres a year and hire extra brewers to quench the thirst of their rapidly increasing number of customers.
The product has gained some acceptance in the marketplace. We're very encouraged. The amount of sales we're gaining at the moment, particularly over the last Christmas. We've sold all the beer we've managed to brew.
Blue Tongue beers are on tap in 40 outlets in Newcastle and the Hunter, but it's not just loyal Novocastrians who buy the local product. 40 pubs offer the beer on tap in Sydney, while it's sold in selected bottle shops Australia-wide. But the company isn't content with that.
We'll be looking at expanding more so throughout Australia as opposed to New South Wales and making it more into a national brand than a New South Wales brand.
And Blue Tongue's premium lager isn't just a favourite among local beer lovers, it's also receiving accolades from industry professionals. Their premium lager took out the Best New Product category at the 2004 Australian Liquor Industry Awards. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Between them, the Jack Newton and Greg Norman Golf Foundations have uncovered and nurtured some of the big names in the game. And given their competitive nature, the State of Origin series is the perfect concept. Although loosely based on the Ryder Cup, the playing format is also unique, with girls and boys playing with and against those of the same age over 2 days in team and individual stroke play. It's the start of a busy week for Jack Newton members Lincoln Ty and Adam Doughton, who are both state youth representatives. They both head off to the International Amateur at Belmont on Thursday for that 4-round tournament which kickstarts their playing season, and Doughton looks to be in top form. After the mixed, 4-ball and foursomes, the Queenslanders led, but the New South Wales Foundation won the last 4 singles matches played today to win overall by a point and reclaim the title for another year.
There are no horses, elephants or clowns to be found inside this big top. Instead, a throng of energetic performers who boast strength, flexibility and washboard stomachs that would put many of us to shame. Just like a traditional circus, Circus Monoxide contains all the elements you'd expect to find, including acrobatics and juggling. But there are also a few things that may take you by surprise. Surely there's got to be an easier way to board a double-decker bus than this. But according to these performers, if it can't be climbed, swung from, hung from or stood on, it's probably not worth the effort.
It's a lot of hard work and, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
When they're not on the stage, the troupe conducts workshops for those who feel like they want to get a bit closer to the action.
We started as university students, basically. We don't come from the family tradition. We just started as a bunch of, naive uni students in Bathurst and really didn't know what we were doing.
Well, haven't times changed? The troupe now helping to reinvent the meaning of the modern-day circus. Colleen West, NBN News.
At 27, Swansea Belmont's Josh Blair will be one of the more experienced Ironmen at the Nutrigrain final this Sunday with a shot at $50,000.
3 races, they knocked 4 out of the first race, then 3 out of the second to leave the final 3. So I think the main priority is to lead from the front and make sure you qualify.
Despite a good showing by Blair through the season, it makes no difference now. The winner will take both cash and overall title, with Kai Hurst among the red-hot favourites.
I think if we hit the beach together, it'll be a nice sprint finish, but I think to be in that final 3 and give yourself every chance of winning the series is obviously the goal.
In training, Blair was given a rough ride at his home break this morning, no doubt hoping for smoother conditions at Coogee Beach come Sunday. It will complete yet another Nutrigrain season for the Hunter Surf Lifesaving product, and he says it certainly won't be his last.
I knew I could still race well, so I think a couple more seasons I'll still be there. So I've automatically qualified for next year, so you'll see me again.
Following the Nutrigrain series, Blair will continue his club commitments, preparing for the national surf life-saving titles. Adam McIlrick, NBN News. An indication of this tournament's popularity, Victorian Mark Leishman made sure he was among those to get his chance. Just days ago, the 21-year-old was unsuccessful at the British Open qualifier in Melbourne. Today, he began day 2 at 6 under, picking up the early lead.
Flew up yesterday morning and got in sort of an hour before I teed off. So I'm feeling fine now.
Leishman held his lead but couldn't improve it after 10 holes, hovering around 9 under. The 16th was a headache for this pair, requiring some fancy footwork even before a club was swung. Justin Roach featured on the leaderboard going into day 2, starting his second round at 6 under. Overnight leader Mitchell Brown kept his opponents guessing, given a late tee-off, knowing all too well what was expected of him.
Never really hang around 10 under, I suppose. You've got to be at least 15 to, well, probably this year could even be to 15 to 20, I suppose, under par.
The first cut has now been made, slicing the field in half ahead of day 3.
All international team members progress, all state team members progress and all national squad members progress, plus then we have to have 10 juniors in the field.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Today may have been a dress rehearsal, but it's probably just as well. This small army of students struggling to work out the finer details of their new uniforms. There's Greer, Emerson and then Jane Margaret, or Maggie as her sisters fondly call her. If you're finding it hard telling the girls apart, just imagine 3 sets of big brown eyes peering up at you from a school desk. That's what the kindergarten teacher at Cessnock St Patrick's School will be faced with on Monday morning when the triplets swap these views for a classroom. There is one thing for certain, this custom-made crew shouldn't have any trouble finding friends.
And Claire and Luke and Jack.
Or answering questions for that matter. Colleen West, NBN News.
We think we've cut it off from the distribution points, so it'll leave a rather substantial void in this area for the heroin supply. We'll be acting on that information, and quite soon I would expect there'll be some further charges.
It's been a bone of contention since it fell onto Shortland Esplanade in October 2002. Since then, everyone, it seemed, had their own ideas of just what to do with this 20-tonne obstacle, but the days in which the boulder enjoys its beachside home are now numbered.
Well, at this stage it's earmarked to go to Summer Hill. When it gets there it'll probably be just lost in the landfill.
Councillor Tate would like to see it used for landscaping purposes in a Wallsend park, but before the rock is moved, work on the cliff face will take priority.
Some of it will be pinned with rock bolts, which will go in horizontally. Other sections of it will be treated with the sort of material we see on the F3 freeway.
Workers move on site within the next week when Bitu bush will be cleared to enable further surveys. All up, the project is expected to cost around $1.5 million.
If it is cheaper or comes in on budget, well then we'll have some money hopefully we can spend on the skateboard area down there.
Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
In a service at Newcastle's Christchurch Cathedral last night, departing Bishop Roger Heft ordained the new deacons as one of his last official duties. Among them was Ken Newman, an engineering manager at the former BHP site. Deacon is not a paid position within the church and in the hierarchy is below priest. But Mr Newman sees the job as almost a church community liaison officer.
I'm going to be like a bridge between the community and the church.
St John's parish priest Gary Dodd, who helped prepare the new recruits, says their ordination is another sign that the Anglican Church is flourishing in the Hunter.
The church isn't dying, in fact it's getting filled with people of all ages. I think there's a great sense of longing, of finding meaning and belonging to community, something that they don't find outside of work and disjointed families.
Meanwhile, the Maitland-Newcastle Diocese of the Catholic Church has also welcomed a new deacon. Joe Formosa, who moved to Newcastle with his wife this week, believes that for Catholics the role of deacon is special because they're the only married clergy allowed in the church.
People understand that we have journeyed with them in our tribulations and our trials, in our raising families, in our mortgages and everything else, in our day-to-day life.
They're the perfect homes away from home. Many have water views and come at just a fraction of the price you could expect to pay in Sydney. The Hunter and Central Coast boasts an increasing number of holiday dwellings, 40,000 to be exact, which is about 1/3 of the state's total.
We've got the lifestyle here and we're still the best value in the state as far as lifestyle living.
A study conducted by forecaster BIS Shrapnel shows that 1 in 12 households in New South Wales owns a holiday home and the majority of owners are aged between 50 and 64. If you're in the hunt for a holiday home, your task could be made a little tougher, with an estimated 18,000 people in New South Wales expected to buy up over the next 5 years. While a place to escape may be appealing, they do come with a price tag. Take this tiny miner's cottage at Catherine Hill Bay, for example, which sold at auction late last year to a Sydney buyer for a whopping $1.2 million.
It all comes down to disposable income, but probably the average person in Sydney can certainly afford to get a holiday place here, and that's why those numbers are growing.
Colleen West, NBN News.
it's a necessary evil. Fitness testing, a measure of how players have held up during pre-season, and for the Knights, the report card isn't so bad.
I think most of the players have improved on what they've done previously. We normally assess things before Christmas and then again probably 4 or 5 weeks into our block after Christmas.
I think everyone's got some pretty good results today, so it's just good to know where you're at this time of the year.
None more so than Andrew Johns. The Newcastle captain hasn't put a foot wrong since training resumed, giving himself every chance of making his long-awaited comeback.
He ran well this morning. He's been training pretty well for a number of weeks, so I guess it's just a bit of confidence today to see where he's at.
In the forwards, Kirk Reynoldson made it look all too easy, but not without sacrifice.
Went home for Chrissy, mate, and when I come back I've got a fetish for KFC. A lot of people are interested in a lot of things. I'm interested in KFC every weekend, so I'll just give that up for a few weekends and got me skin fold on a 98.
With stitches above his right eye, the bushranger carries some minor battle scars after a somewhat spirited weekend training session.
We won't mention any names, Clint Newton, but he got me with a little friendly the other day. Saturday afternoon we had a bit of opposition, mate, so Nudo, as the crazy man he is, just went a little bit silly.
How do you know if a teddy bear drive has been a success? Well, if the soft toys fill an entire bus, that's a fair indication. 4 weeks ago, Port Stephens bus driver Dave Walsh had started collecting teddy bears to send to children in tsunami-devastated regions. Today he counted around 5,000.
Some of the early images coming out of the tsunami-affected areas were very clear, with a lot of children and so on in devastation.
And so the job to prepare the toys to be shipped began. It was absolutely all hands on deck. All the teddy bears will be shipped to an orphanage, which is being opened by a Sydney charity organisation in Banda Aceh.
And a lot of people I know around the area that have had children, the kids have actually had an opportunity to get involved and send some of their toys.
There's nothing half-hearted about these unwanted deposits. They're big and juicy and they land with a thud. The Kakavas family received a welcome home from a day out on Sunday like they've never had before.
I walked out the back and I just didn't know what it was for a second. I had to look twice.
When Lewis did first say to you there's a chicken out there, what ran through your head straight away?
Oh, a little chicken running around. A live chicken, not a dead frozen one.
A chook destined for the oven was perched here next to the dog kennel, while a second supersized chook was found in a gutter near the house on Tuesday. It seems little Sammy wasn't interested in the potential feast. Instead, he had his eyes fixed on pelicans from the nearby tip that have been blamed for dropping 5 chooks in the area during the past 6 weeks. That's one theory Martez has rejected, saying she believes it has to be the work of human beings. And while these pelicans appeared to be on a mission this morning, there was certainly no foul play going on. Colleen West, NBN News. It was here on Regent Street where the woman was viciously attacked. At around 2:30 yesterday, a 33-year-old local woman was on her way to pick her children up from a nearby school when she stopped at a public toilet next to the New Lambton Library. On her way out, she was knocked unconscious and dragged back inside where she was sexually assaulted. She woke a short time later and went to the library for help before being taken to the John Hunter Hospital with a cut to her head. This afternoon, police went back to the site searching for more information.
We're of the belief that there would have been a fair few people around the area yesterday afternoon between 2:30 and 3. We would have hoped that there would have been a fair few more people come to us with information.
Police say they've been given very few leads with various descriptions of people seen in the area at the time of the attack. They're asking for anyone that may have information to contact Waratah Police. While there is no description of the offender, police have issued details about the victim in the hope someone may have seen the attack. She's described as being 180 centimetres in height, with dark curly hair, and was wearing a white shirt and joggers. Colleen West, NBN News.
A season-high crowd of just over 4,000 packed the entertainment centre, and they weren't to be disappointed. The Kings started strongly, before the home side overcame a nervous start to hit their stride. From there, the game was one for the highlight reel, as both sides put on a show. While Brian Weathers was never far behind either. Jason Smith bombed away after the main break. Then Kavossi Franklin would answer. Ben Knight would shine, before Brad Davidson would steal his thunder, as players wrestled their way through a game of almost constant one-upmanship. Deep in the match, mistakes became crucial. The Kings limited their own, but instantly punished any from the home side. It was a thrilling finish, Franklin hitting 31, while Weathers never fails to impress, pipping his teammate by 1 for the game's highest scorer. They couldn't reel in the Kings, though, who rewarded coach Brian Goorjian with his 400th NBL win and left the Pirates still to secure that playoff spot with a game against Wollongong tomorrow.
There's a lot of lies being told in there, and one of the ladies in there a moment ago, she says, "Isn't it marvellous? The older you get, the better you were." And I think that's the case.
It takes plenty just to be considered for Australia's netball side, but Jane Altschwager is in a 15-strong squad that will soon become 12 for the test against England next week.
I'm happy that I'm back in that 15 and that's great, but obviously I just want to take that one step further.
It's for her club that she'll play a huge role for this season, especially now defender and vice-captain Ali Tucker has withdrawn after falling pregnant. Finding the right combination in defence, now the focus for coach Maria Lynch.
Last year we were really surprised with the huge step up that Kim Purcell made, and the girls have sort of, like, if she can do it in 12 months, so can we.
Swansea Belmont may have won the Hunter Branch Surf Lifesaving Championship for another year, but they didn't have it all their own way in the Opens. Olympian Peter Scott had a big day, winning several golds, including the Lifesaver Relay, after he got Redhead back on level terms with a huge ski leg to set up Mitchell Crowe for a sprint finish. Clubmates Jessica Kilmurray and Jessica Morgan then powered home in the women's board rescue, while Caves Beach dominated the boat races, winning 4. The state titles are the next event at Umina on the Central Coast. In the Premier League Lawn Bowls, Wendell Gateshead was the lone winner from the 4 Hunter clubs at the weekend.
It's another chapter in a disturbing story of a murderous mother and her 4 dead children. Caleb, Patrick, Sarah and Laura, all infants, were suffocated over a period of 10 years. Folbig was sentenced in May 2003 to 40 years in prison, with a minimum of 30 years. But lawyers for Folbig appealed her conviction and the severity of her sentence, arguing she should have faced 4 separate trials and not 1. Today, the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal reduced the 37-year-old's non-parole sentence by 5 years, but dismissed an appeal to have the conviction quashed.
We're very disappointed with the fact that the conviction appeal was dismissed. We'll study the judgment and assess our options at that point.
Salvation Army chaplain Joyce Harmer, who regularly visits Folbig in prison, put on a brave face outside the court despite the decision. In his judgment, Justice Brian Sully said the prospect the original sentence offered was so crushingly discouraging it put at risk any incentive Folbig might have had for rehabilitation. He added the original sentence was a life sentence by a different name. Kathleen Folbig will be 66 years old when she's eligible for parole in 2028.
I wouldn't say she's going downhill. I guess she's trying to cope with things the best way she can.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Detectives were back at the university dorm in Bathurst today, interviewing students about that alcohol-fuelled rampage involving 12 Knights players. Since the incident, the club has been in damage control.
We're in the process of contacting all our sponsors, big and small, all our supporters as well, and our members.
Before the scandal broke, the club was poised to announce a major sponsorship deal. That's now in jeopardy as the Knights attempt to convince big business and fans there's still a worthwhile investment. As for Dane Tilse, the player sacked for his involvement in the rampage, he's being consoled by his parents, who are also struggling to come to terms with his sudden dismissal.
The decision was made, I feel, too hastily.
I'm very proud of Dane and what he's achieved. He's very, very dedicated with his football and always has been. It has been his dream.
Knights officials say there is an appeal mechanism in Dane Tilse's contract. As for the fine imposed by the NRL on the club, that too may be questioned.
We think $100,000 is a figure that we'll be challenging anyway. I can't conceive of a bigger fine than that.
As for a review of the players' code of conduct, there are calls to ban alcohol on all away trips.
There's no way you'd break a curfew if you weren't under the influence of alcohol.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.